If I asked you where this flashback took place, would you say Marineford? That seems to be the general consensus, yet it doesn't actually state it's called Marineford inside the story. How is that possible? Well, because it wasn't Marineford at the time. Is this how God Valley disappeared off every map in the world? Let's find out. This Den production was brought to you by Coob of the Red Sea. Keep an eye out for further theories from him on this channel. 38 years before the present day, on an island called God Valley, something called the God Valley Incident occurred. Current Marine Vice Admiral Monkey D. Garp had to make a temporary alliance with Gold D. Roger, captain of the Roger Pirates, in order to stop XEBEC, and with his success was dubbed Hero of the Marines. Roger, Silvers Rayleigh and Scopper Gaban found a baby Shanks in a treasure chest and took them in. The island, which is characterised by tall cliffs and canyons, is said to have disappeared off all maps. However, we're going to attempt to definitively solve the mystery of where God Valley is and explain how everything ties together. The key to the location of God Valley lies in its name. The definition of the word valley is a low area of land between hills or mountains, typically with a river or stream flowing through it. This perfectly describes the only picture of God Valley we've seen. The word valley originates from Nordic myth, something we know Oda has tied to the story many times before. Now, when we look at what the word originally was, we discover something very interesting. It's a ford, again describing a deep, narrow and elongated sea or lake with steep land on three sides. If you watch someone say ford on TV, sometimes the subtitles will use the same spelling, by which I mean F-J-O-R-D. The opening towards the sea is called the mouth of the ford and is often shallow, and the ford's inner part is called the sea bottom. The English version of the word is also ford. The definition of the word, however, is warped over time. A ford is a shallow place in a river or a stream allowing one to walk or drive across. Where can we find the word ford in One Piece? Well, Marineford. Okay, but what about the word God? Do we have any connections to God and Marineford as well, so we can tie them together? Well, for starters, Kuma was there and he held a Bible. Luffy falls from the sky to join the fight, a reference from descending from the heavens. Additionally, in 866, which just so happens to be called Natural Born Destroyer, a title that could tie to XEBEC's actions at God Valley, we see a flashback set 100 years ago. If you ask someone where this scene is set, they'll tell you Marineford, despite the fact we get that impression from the surroundings alone. Interestingly, it's never actually explicitly stated to be Marineford. This could be a big clue that at the time Marineford was going by a different name. When the remnants of the giant warrior pirates that disbanded after Dory and Broggy's quarrel were captured and brought to Marineford to be executed at the Horus Plaza, we saw Sister Carmel trick the giants into bringing her to Elbaf. Sister Carmel herself was a nun and also known as the Holy Mother. She discussed a message from the heavens, and a holy light fell on Carmel as stated by the manga. So there's some pretty direct ties there to God, and there's some other ties to the word God involving the characters that were at the Summit War. This all ties to Inherited Will and the general way Oda has historical events in the One Piece story reenact themselves. For example, with Wano. When we look at the characters that were present at both incidents, we find a load of spicy connections, basically. At the Summit War, we had Whitebeard, Garp, Shanks, Roger's son, Roger's inheritor. XEBEC could be argued to be represented by Blackbeard. And finally, we know Kaido is supposed to be there too. Some of these characters appear in the 4 posters Emu held, and I've speculated before in previous videos that them posters tie into old gods, and wills that might have been since inherited. So it does seem that there were sort of godlike characters at Marineford. Obviously Luffy stands out as one, but not just that, it's like another version of the original God Valley, like all the wills have been inherited, and this is like God Valley Part 2 almost. Because of this, I mean, like, because the fact it's a run back of God Valley, it could be that at God Valley there was somebody in at risk of execution. You know, I've spoke before about like Blackbeard might have been around God Valley or something which drew XEBEC there, or XEBEC might have gone there to free someone or something, so it's interesting. Something else that's interesting is if you look at the way Whitebeard arrived at the Summit War, it appears that he knows the landscape already, which is interesting because obviously he's been to God Valley already, so he might understand the layout and how to like pop up from under the water like we saw. Furthermore, if Marineford was in fact God Valley, it would explain why there were celestial dragons there, and why Rox mentioned wanting to be on top of the world. So yeah, there's some interesting ties there as well. The much anticipated God Valley Round 2 battle has got fans speculating Garp and Blackbeard will soon collide on Hachinosu. There are some pretty major hints pointing to such a battle too. So for example, the God Valley incident is where Garp's nickname Hero of the Marines is from, which reflects the currently captured Kobe, who's aptly nicknamed the Hero of Rocky Port. We also saw that Vivi has been captured, so if for whatever reason her and Kobe were taken to the same place, then we might actually see Luffy and the Marines team up, similar to the God Valley incident, incident, we can find clues in the landscape too. Except for Wano-like pillars in the corner, Marineford is composed completely out of bricks and steel, suggesting almost all the natural features that were native to the island have gone. Throughout the summit wall, we are shown many different images of Marineford, however, this one strikes me as particularly strange. Seems like quite an arbitrary panel, but on second glance you can see it seems to show a valley, with Marineford inside it. In addition to this, the crescent moon shape could be due to an explosion or some other damage that occurred during the God Valley incident. This is where it gets wild though. Firstly, during the war, Sengoku appears relatively calm throughout about what's happening there, and he doesn't really mind people fighting people, but as soon as Blackbeard threatens to destroy the island itself, Sengoku freaks out and rocks up as a golden Buddha and starts trying to smash stuff up and prevent it from happening. He says a couple other things that are kind of red flags as well. The strangest probably is, you don't know what you're doing. He says that to Blackbeard when Blackbeard starts breaking the island. So yeah, it's very sus. Yeah, and when you mix it with these facial expression and reactions and stuff, it's looking sus basically. The other example that's interesting is Akainu. When he gets hit by Whitebeard into the ground, he basically he uses his magma fist to punch a hole in the underground, and it reveals like a tunnel. It's not like a big reveal, but it opens up to a tunnel, and Akainu just starts walking through it, which is kind of strange. It's never touched on again. This suggests there is something below Marineford itself, which is likely to be the ruins of God Valley, similar to what we've seen in Wano, Alabasta, Water 7, so a place that's built on top of another place. Furthermore, we see the ever-growing theme of a dark, clouded sky being present in both Marineford and God Valley as well, which might even tie into preventing the Sun God's light from having more power, but that's a theory with many more examples that I'll touch on in a later video. It's a bit of a stretch, but we also heard the families lived on Marineford, which makes me think potentially it could have been similar for the Celestial Dragons at God Valley. We know they had slaves there and they resided on there, so it's possible. Another connection between the two is slavery. We were told Celestial Dragons were present at God Valley during the mysterious incident, and Marineford just so happens to have ties also. If you look at the triangle made by Enies Lobby, Impel Down and Marineford, it mirrors the triangular trade route of the 6th century. In real life, this was a trade route used by the slaving industry, and the Toraya current, which controls the water inside the Gates of Justice, is inspired by the trade wind, which enabled the ships to travel faster when travelling within the triangle in real life. Furthermore, we have the Oxloyd Bell, or as it's more commonly referred to, the Ox Bell. This was found on Marineford and was used to ring farewell to the passing year as well as welcome in the new year, and is heavily inspired by the real-life Lutein Bell. But how does this tie into slavery? Well, here's an open statement at the top of their webpage. I don't need to explain that these guys have a bad rep, to say the least, for working within the slave industry, so you can see what I'm saying there and what Oda's done. Marineford was the base of operations for Marine headquarters and is where former Fleet Admiral Sengoku and the admirals resided, along with many vice admirals and lower officers. It is situated near the Saba-Odi archipelago and laid directly next to Marijua on the Red Line. So in conclusion, we think that during the God Valley incident, the island was levelled, and in its rubble the world government's Marineford was built. All that's left of God Valley are the 4 pillars on the corner of the islands, and even its name was changed, ensuring that the name God Valley would no longer appear on maps. This secret is likely known by a handful of people in the story, and as previously suggested, no doubt Sengoku. This happened during the Summit War, in which we saw Whitebeard Garp and a load of others, and let me make it clear as well, I don't think this is the final part of God Valley. I think we do have another God Valley coming with, what we are seeing with Blackbeard, and I will go into that at the time. It's just a lot of people are going to be making stuff about that, so I'll just let it simmer for a bit. Here's some shout outs on creators we support and who have done videos on the topic recently. We have Threeville, Zakio1, who's just released a banger, and Parvision, who released a video recently on the subject. So yeah, guys, always a pleasure. Huge love to anyone who made it this far. You've just won some free black blades, so just let me know which one you want in the comments, I guess. And sub, all the business, keep us afloat. Also, we have a very, very, very big surprise coming in the next few days, so keep your eyes out for that. Make sure to sub so you get posted, but it's a spicy one. So anyway, thank you very much.